putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Good evening. I'm Shannon Bremen for Brett Baer tonight. We begin with a new warning from President Trump. He says he's perfectly willing to let the government shut down again if his border security plans are not accepted. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts starts us off tonight. Good evening, John.
Shannon, good evening to you. With the clock ticking down to the March 5th deadline to get something done on the Dreamers and the government set to run out of money again on Thursday evening, the president appeared to roll those two things together into a threat that seemed to take everyone in Washington by surprise. Chairing a meeting on strategy to confront the notorious Hispanic gang MS-13, President Trump threw a bomb into talks on a budget deal, saying if he can't get an agreement on immigration reform, he's happy to have another government shutdown.
I would shut it down over this issue. If we don't straighten out our border, we don't have a country. Without borders, we don't have a country. So would I shut it down over this issue? Yes. I can't speak for our great representatives here, but I have a feeling they may agree with me.
The threat came straight out of left field. Democrats have been talking about insisting a DACA deal be in place before moving ahead with a 2-year budget, but on the idea of another shutdown, the president found himself an army of one.
Speaks for itself. We had one Trump shutdown. Nobody wants another, maybe except him.
White House Chief of Staff John Kelly today warned Democrats time is running out to get a deal on DACA and immigration reform, that the president is not likely to extend the deadline past March 5th, despite what the president said in Davos just 12 days ago.
We'll get it solved. And if we need a little more time, we'll take a little more time. I want to get the problem solved correctly.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I love this. I love this story for so many reasons. So many reasons. One, the government shutdown. Trump says, I don't care about shutting down the government. It does nothing. Shut it down. What confidence? Everybody's always talking about a government shutdown as if it's the end of the world. No, it isn't. It's the best thing that can happen to government. All the critical things still happen. It shows you who's worthless in government. So shut it down. And shut it down on principle. And quite frankly, if it is going to have a negative impact on anybody, you know who it negatively impacts? It negatively impacts the Democrats. Trump is saying, look, we've been kicking the can down the road on immigration. Every president before me has talked about addressing it. Reagan did it. He did it wrong because he got tricked by the Democrats. And then we ended up with millions of voters for Democrats. Millions. Trump saying, let's go for it. No, I'm happy to do this. But here's the deal. We're going to do it my way. We're going to close the loopholes. You're not going to get any more voters. And then we're going to do it in such a way, and I think this is really slick, where these people are going to go through the system. Not this come in, just speak Spanish or Latvian or Polish or whatever. No, you're going to learn English. You're going to learn how the government works. You're going to learn how crooked these Democrats are. And oh, by the way, I'm going to get credit. The Republicans are going to get credit for being the people who made it happen. This is freaking genius. Now, the way that Fox reported it is interesting. Clock is ticking down on government funding. The president combined DACA with the government shutdown. But here's what he did that was really slick. He used the backdrop of getting MS-13 out of the country. Guys, do you understand the optics of this? He's saying, we got all these bad gangbangers here. I'm going to get them out. I'm trying to help these kids that you claim you want to help. So I'm going to build a fence that's going to keep these gangbangers out. I'm going to do things that keep the bad guys out. I'm going to let the good guys stay in, but you're going to have to fund it. And then he said this. What a good comment. Without borders, we don't have a country. Now, you can be open borders. You can talk to me about, oh, they're so good about it in Britain and all these other places. What he was saying is, if you just let people come across your borders and you don't bring them in through the legal system, you don't have a country. You want to have open borders? We have open borders. through our legal immigration system. If we were shutting people out and saying we don't want anybody, which for the record, there are some people out there going, do we really need any more of these folks? And I don't necessarily blame them. But what Trump is saying, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. Argue against that. You say, I have a house. Okay, if you don't have a fence and you leave your doors open, is it really your house if you invite everybody in? Or is it a community house? Because most people I know, they know the dividing lines. If they didn't matter, ask yourself this question. Why do we have the border? Why is it that we know exactly where Mexico begins and America begins? Because we have a border. And if that border is not recognized and people are just crossing it and coming from one sovereign nation into another, do you really, for all intents and purposes, just call it United States of Mexico? Because let's annex Mexico. I'm not advocating for this, but we might as well annex them because that's essentially the way they're behaving. This is ridiculous. Anyway, it's perfectly set up. Democrats are in big trouble over this. And what does Chuck Schumer say? Oh, it's out of left field. Oh, this is crazy. He wants to shut down the government. And Trump what's funny about it is Trump makes no bones about it. I will shut down the government. I don't care. I'm right on the issue. I framed it in such a way, it doesn't matter how you do it, it's going to look bad on you. That is truly the rock in the hard place. I've talked about this before. This is brilliant. And what's funny to me is the Fox News guy saying it came out of left field, that the Democrats don't know what's going on. This is quintessential Donald Trump. This is a guy who says, oh, you thought we were just going to talk about government shutdown. No, we're going to mix it with DACA. Dun, 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 dun. And then, I forget the guy, the reporter, older guy at Fox, but he alludes at the end that, Schumer alludes that Trump is standing by himself. He's the only one that wants this. And what Schumer doesn't understand is Trump doesn't care if he's standing by himself. But what the reporter at the very end, when he talks about Donald Trump as throwing these guys for a loophole, that was what I found actually most interesting. He alludes that Trump lied about a little more time. He didn't. Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. This goes back to me telling you, he's ambiguous a little bit. He says, if you need a little more time, we'll use it. I want to get a deal done. If you need a little more time, we'll get it. We'll ask for it. He's given them a little more time. That's what he came back and he did. That's what cracks me up about him. They'll say, well, he's lying. He said he was going to give him more time. Yeah, he said he was going to give him more time. He gave him more time. Now they've got an ultimatum. And here's what I want you to watch as this plays out leading into March 5th or whatever the date is. Watch how this plays out. Because you're watching a guy who really knows how to negotiate a deal. And I'm not trying to overplay this. The reason why I can talk about this way is I've done deals like this at the level of major corporations. I'm talking about having to sell multi-million-dollar deals. And I'm telling you, watching Trump do this is truly masterful. You're going to watch the Democrats slowly start. Chuck Schumer says, oh, he's out in left field. Watch how far out in left field Trump is, because if he's out in left field, let me tell you what, I believe Trump is standing on home plate after knocking a home run. Because these guys are going to, over the next close to a month, they're going to slowly start to crack. And you will watch. I'm going to predict it. Trump gets, I don't know what's going to happen with the budget, but before March 5th hits, he will have a DACA deal in place that has the wall, that gets rid of the visas, the what do they call them, the visa lottery, and what's the other one? There's 3 points that I feel like Rick Perry. Long story short, ends chain migration. He's going to have all of those deals with the wall, and He'll let these guys come in. They will not be able to bring in their parents and whatever else, and or their uncles and grandparents and all these other things, and that'll be the end of it. And we will have solved our immigration issue. And here's what the Democrats are afraid of. They know this ends the gravy train. There's no other group of people that they can bring over and manipulate like they can the Mexicans. That's why they're fighting this tooth and nail, even though they've said that they've agreed to it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.